An Australian family's meal is now the centre of a homicide investigation.
Play after a deadly meal claimed 3 lives.
And a family lunch turned deadly.
In the small, quiet town of Leongatha, Australia, Erin Patterson was hosting what looked like the perfect family lunch. On the menu was an impressive homemade beef Wellington, a dish she hoped would bring her estranged family back together. But hidden within that savory meal was a deadly secret. One of the world's most lethal poisons. Before the week was out, 3 of her guests would be dead and a 4th would be fighting for his life. This is the timeline of the Leongatha mushroom poisonings and the gripping investigation that unraveled the horrifying truth behind a meal that was allegedly designed to kill. The date was July 29th, 2023. Erin Patterson, then 49, had invited her former parents-in-law Don and Gail Patterson for a reconciliation lunch. Her estranged husband Simon was also invited but pulled out at the last minute. Joining Don and Gail were Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson and Heather's husband Ian, a local Baptist pastor. Erin served individual beef Wellington pastries, a meal she'd later tell the court she spent a long time preparing. But one detail would become a crucial point of contention. What mushrooms did she use? Her story would change, first claiming she used a mix of supermarket and Asian grocery mushrooms, then later admitting she may have used dehydrated foraged mushrooms from her pantry. At the time, her guests ate the meal completely unaware they had just ingested a fatal dose of Amanita phalloides, the death cap mushroom. Within hours, the nightmare began. All 4 guests, Dawn, Gail, Heather, and Ian, fell violently ill with what seemed like a severe case of gastroenteritis. They were rushed to the hospital where their conditions took a terrifying turn. Doctors quickly realized this was no ordinary food poisoning. The diagnosis was acute liver failure from amatoxin poisoning, the unmistakable signature of the death cap mushroom. The community watched in horror as the family members succumbed one by one. On August 4th, Gail Patterson and her sister Heather Wilkinson passed away. The very next day, Don Patterson also died.
Oh, beautiful people.
Don was just a really lovely bloke, and I miss him.
I don't think there'd be any person in this town that wouldn't be feeling grief.
It's not Midsummer Murders. This is Curramborough. This is real people's lives.
The death sent a shockwave through the tight-knit town. Only Ian Wilkinson survived the ordeal, pulling through after 7 weeks in intensive care and a life-saving liver transplant. But amid all the tragedy, one person was conspicuously unharmed: the host, Erin Patterson. While she claimed to have suffered stomach pains, doctors who examined her found no signs of mushroom poisoning. With 3 dead and 1 critically ill, police launched a major homicide investigation that zeroed in on Erin Patterson. What they uncovered was a tangled story full of suspicious actions and conflicting accounts. Initially, Patterson faced 5 counts of attempted murder, including 4 related to her estranged husband, Simon, for alleged prior incidents. However, before the trial began, prosecutors dropped the charges related to Simon to focus solely on the fatal lunch. Patterson's actions after the lunch raised red flags for investigators. As her relatives were dying in the hospital, she was caught on CCTV driving to a local dump. There, she disposed of a food dehydrator, a device the prosecution alleged she used to prepare the lethal mushrooms. When first questioned, she told police she had dumped it a long time ago. A statement she later admitted was a lie born of panic. Then came the digital evidence, or what the prosecution argued was a deliberate lack of it. Investigators alleged that Patterson's primary phone was never recovered. The court heard testimony that during a police search of her home, the SIM card from her main phone was allegedly swapped into a different device. A secondary phone that she did hand over was allegedly factory reset multiple times, with one reset happening remotely after it was in police possession. On November 2nd, 2023, after a sprawling 4-month investigation, police arrested Erin Patterson. She was ultimately charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder.
I'm not aware of an investigation where we've had 3 people die as a result of apparent food poisoning, whether that be by mushroom or something else. So yes, it is rather unique, and 3 of them have passed away, with another one critical.
Mum and Dad were very much a team working at life together. The fact they died on consecutive days is fitting in some ways.
The trial began on April 29, 2025, and for 9 weeks it held Australia captive. The prosecution built its case piece by piece, arguing Patterson's actions were intentional. They presented forensic analysis of a leftover mushroom paste from the lunch found in Patterson's bin, which they said tested positive for beta-amanitin, a toxin in death caps. They pointed to her shifting stories and what they called lies upon lies, from faking a cancer diagnosis to lure the family to lunch to the extensive digital cleanup. Patterson's defense team fired back, arguing this was all a terrible, tragic accident. Taking the stand for 8 days, she maintained her innocence, insisting she had simply made a mistake with foraged mushrooms. Her lawyer argued that her lies and the disposal of the dehydrator were the actions of a panicked, not a guilty woman. She became emotional on the stand, expressing her love for the family she was accused of murdering. The question for the jury was stark. Was this a tragic mistake, or was it methodical, calculated murder? They had to decide if Erin Patterson knowingly served her family one of the deadliest substances on Earth. After deliberating for 6 days, the jury returned on July 7, 2025. In the silent courtroom, the verdict was read: guilty. Guilty on all 3 counts of murder, guilty on 1 count of attempted murder. Erin Patterson, who had sat mostly impassive throughout the trial, reportedly showed little emotion, blinking rapidly as the verdicts were delivered. She now faces a potential life sentence. The Erin Patterson case is a chilling story of a domestic tragedy wrapped in a complex forensic puzzle. There was no confession, no single piece of smoking gun evidence. Instead, the conviction was built from digital crumbs, forensic science, and a pattern of behavior the jury believed pointed to guilt. The court delivered its verdict, but for the community of Leongatha and the families torn apart, the shock remains. They are left with the one question the trial could never truly answer: why? The verdict provides a conclusion, but the motive for such a devastating betrayal remains a deadly secret.